Well, good morning. I have a little update for you. This week, most of you should be receiving a letter with an update on our Branching Out campaign. And if not, I want you to contact the office and request a letter. Just give them your address, confirm that we have the right one on file. We'll make sure that you get a copy of this. But I wanted to give you a couple key updates out of it. First of all, just a reminder, a few months ago, we launched our Branching Out campaign with the goal of raising $75,000 to support ministry growth. And at that time, I visualized the progress with this tree-shaped thermometer. And Jan made this really cool one that we could kind of fill in. And then I realized that that was the wrong image. It's the wrong image because it has this idea that ministry is this, here's the number and we got to fill this thing up or we can't do the ministry. And it's not really how ministry works. What really happens is that we are more like a vine. We tap into the resource, which is Christ, which is God, and it is out of that that the fruit, by our abiding, is produced. And we are just supposed to connect to that. And so we are now a growing church, and we are trying to cultivate a growing church. And that's a little bit about what this is. Each gift, each act of service, each moment of faith is like fertilizer that nourishes the roots of what's already beginning to bear fruit. There are a lot of wonderful things going on. And so thanks to your generosity, I am pleased to let you know that we have raised over $35,000 toward our goal. Can you go ahead and give yourselves a hand? Yeah. That is really exciting, Theo. And it's a strong step forward in fueling what new life has already taken place. And so today I want to give you a few updates about what's already taken place. Some of them have been going on for a while. We're just expanding them. Things like the fact that we have screens on the walls and the fact that we have this wonderful streaming ministry that's reaching many of you who are watching online, who are wonderful members of our community, and you're able to see it that way because this exists thanks to all of the effort that Melanie and Gavin put in and a decision that was made back then. But here's a few of the other things that you may not see or you may not know are going on. There's ministry at the Forum that is expanded. Not only are we visiting people, but there is a new weekly Thursday worship service now. And part of why that is so cool is because there was a Catholic worship service that was going on there, but there had been no in-person Protestant worship service there for over 7 years. Can you imagine living in a place where you didn't have access to a collective worship for 7 years? And now, thanks to Ashley's efforts of connecting us there and your generosity, we have that. And you did that. Your generosity did that. You're bringing the gift of church back to people's lives. Secondly, yes, go ahead and, yeah, please. I should have said hold your applause till they're all done, but you know what? Let's celebrate. So also, Family Ministries is growing. We've launched Family Ministry Night. We've expanded outreach to young families and strengthened VBS with training days and new volunteers. And you know, if you've been around here long enough, you know Jinhee's really good about just seeking people out and asking you if you haven't volunteered before. So don't run from her. It's wonderful, fun stuff, but thanks to her, we're getting to do that. Also, we have children's and youth ministries that have more than doubled since 2022. There were just 4 children and 3 youth on regular attendance. Now there are at least 12 children and 5 youth, plus there were 4 confirmands this spring. That you should definitely give yourselves a hand for, because that's beautiful. Also, I know that is hard to read. It will all be in the letter. There are more than 6 new volunteers that have stepped forward into various ministry roles this year. There are new small groups that have been launched to reach people, and the new 9 a.m. worship service has seen over 90 unique worshipers and several young families becoming regular attendees of it. And our music ministry is thriving. We have more bell ringers than we know what to do with, so we had to buy some more bells. We have more concerts, we have a new intern, and collaborations with local musicians continue to expand. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, our streaming and digital ministry continues to grow under Gavin's leadership with well-trained volunteers and a growing online community. So again, you can see in all of these pictures more things than I even managed to mention, but beautiful things that are going on. So again, would you go ahead and give one another a round of applause? Now, all of this is fruit. It's beautiful things that are happening, and it's a result of what you've sown, your generosity, your faith, your time, your commitment, and your shared vision of what's possible. And it's not happening by accident. You know, interestingly, in a church's life, and we'll talk about this a little bit with Stewardship Campaign, but there's always times when, as a church, we have to decide where are we going into the future. Because sometimes things come in life and they change the trajectory of what we can do. The giving of the church has kind of just stayed relatively flat over the past 5 years. And that's mostly because people come and people go, and people who were giving large amounts leave, and people who are giving large amounts come, and it offsets. People who are giving small amounts come, and people who are giving little amounts leave, and it offsets. And so everything stays relatively flat until we decide, okay, we need to do something because we see the growth, we see the fruit, and we want more of it. We need to offer more fertilizer for what's happening. And I want to show you that it actually is happening, and so I want to share this with you. According to UMC and Barna research, most growing churches in America are either under 100 or over 1,000 in worship attendance. Including our online service, we average close to 200 in worship. That puts us squarely in that middle portion. Out of all of the churches that are growing in America, 61% of them are small. They grow quickly and then they kind of flatline. 33% are 1,000 or more. And only 6% of them fall in the same category as us. You are uniquely positioned. And part of what makes that beautiful is that we are big enough to offer strong ministries, but we're small enough to know your name. And we're moving into a time and a culture where things are becoming more global, but people want to be locally known. Our church is positioned to really help people and be a meaningful part of their lives. We're uniquely suited to the new terrain of North Overland Park and North Mid-Leawood and the Kansas City area, which are a mix of young professionals and longtime residents, increasing cultural and racial diversity. There are financial pressures hidden behind the suburban and urban landscapes. And there is this post-institutional openness to justice and healing and spiritual depth, while also being a borderline blend between Kansas City and Johnson County. We fit those things. And so as we go into this new era, we want to be very, very intentional about the way that we're doing things. And so we also have this little handbook that if there are new ministries that people want to start, we invite you to go through this process that's meant to be Spirit-led, so that we can say, yes, we're behind this, and we can really put ourselves behind whatever we get involved in here at the church. It helps us to give resources and make sure that we're all on board and pulling in the same direction, if you will. What we have here at Leawood United Methodist Church is fertile ground. It's already growing. All we need to do is give it a little more encouragement. I want to liken this to this little metaphor. So follow me, if you will. If you're planting something, if you are working out in the fields, I know some of you, how many of you grew up on farms? A handful of us, yeah. How many detasseled when you're younger? Yeah, okay, there's less of us, but so Gavin, would you go ahead and bring up the first part of this? So first of all, when we're cultivating a growing church, there's the farm and the field. And that means the church facilities, the building, and the surrounding community resources. Then what's next is that there are nutrients. There are the supplies and the equipment that we already have, and the things that we receive, and the money that we receive. And those are the nutrients that help us to encourage growth. And then finally, there are the laborers. They're the volunteers and staff that make these things go. Most growing churches have strong voluntary leaders, not an overwhelming amount of staff. There was a time when this church became overstaffed, but it was because there was a time when the ministries of this church were enormous. And so a cutting back period had to happen. Now we are at a point where our staff and volunteer numbers are keeping up with our growth, but we need to be very careful that we don't fall behind that, so that we don't have plants that are sitting in the field and produce that goes unharvested. that we are able to take advantage of things. We need enough nutrients and we need enough laborers. And so this is an encouragement not just to give, but it's an encouragement to get involved, to do whichever thing it is that God is calling you to do. There will be times in your life when you can't give the time or the money that you want to. We have had members of the congregation who have gone through cancer treatments, and they once gave nearly $10,000 a year, and they now are only able to give $1,000. There are people that have come to a time in life where they were not able to give anything and received so much from the church. And now, as they're reaching a different stage in their life, they're able to just abundantly provide the way that the church provided for them. Your story is your story. How God is calling you is to be cheerful. It's not about a certain percentage. It's not about what you can do. It's just about what's sitting in your heart. And so, as you receive this letter and read over it, I want you to think about the things you've been able to be a part of, and also just say thank you to God for whatever way you've been able to be a part of it. And that we are a church that gets to participate in branching out in the kingdom here in this area of the Kansas City Metro and beyond by our many missions ministries. And finally, I want to say thank you to the finance and the trustees, and also to all of those who have family members that have left behind gifts to the church. You see many things that are happening, and they're happening in our operating budget. But the things that you're seeing in the facility upgrades are all because of memorials and legacy endowment funds that people left to the church. And so we get to use all the money that comes into the offering plates for ministries. We don't have to do building upkeep because people gave so that we could take care of the surrounding building. But to take advantage of that, we need an operating budget too. And so that's what the branching out is about. It's about being able to take advantage of the resources that somebody thought long ago to take advantage of. As you've heard, when is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the next best time to plant a tree? Right now. And so thank you for being those who are willing to plant the trees that others will sit under, just the way that we are sitting on trees that others planted before us. Thank you all for listening for the update. And again, would you give each other a hand for the way that you are doing so many wonderful things here?